Hey Jenny, how you going?
I'm very well, thank you. How are you today on this sunny Friday?
How's it up in Brisbane today?
It is a beautiful day. So much so that I went to gym this morning and didn't even consider taking a jumper because at 5 o'clock it was actually a little bit, it was almost not, it was not cold. It wasn't warm, but it wasn't unpleasant. So I was
That's
like,
so
oh,
great you've been able to go back there.
yes, I know. We're lucky. We're able to go back on Monday this week. We're very blessed to be able to leave the house and be able to do things like that. So we know we're not everyone is so fortunate as we are up here.
That's brilliant. I'm glad that's happened for you guys, though. That's awesome. And I know it's such an important part of your daily routine.
It's 100, and I realize that's what we were missing. I think during lockdown, we were allowed to exercise outside within 10 kilometers of your home. And so what the gym actually suggested we did, we went and borrowed some equipment in the mornings, and you can exercise in pairs. So my gym buddy and my gym BFF and I were training at 6 o'clock together on our own Zoom links, but in the same place at the gym in the park. So we could still actually get some connection and get out of the house, but still actually meet all the COVID requirements. So that was actually a really insightful idea. Very innovative.
That's so great.
And how are you guys going down with all the stuff? I mean, you're as an ever-changing kind of environment you're in down in Bangalore at the moment.
Yes, we've got a bit of lockdown life going on, but I quite enjoy a bit of lockdown life, and my daughter loves it. She loves learning from home. And
I love it.
Cooks all day, so that works really well for me.
Well, perfect. Even better.
So yeah, it's pretty good. And we just got to roll with it, whatever's happening. And
exactly. And I agree with your post this week about the rollout of the COVID, the vaccinations has been a little bit of a debacle, but I'm hoping that you get yours as soon. I got my first jab yesterday, doing the right thing, but it seems insane that somebody, you and your daughter in your position, are not able to get that done, soon, because it is literally life-threatening for you.
Yeah, it's pretty bizarre. Yeah. Pretty bizarre how things are going.
Well, hopefully soon you can say that.
Pardon?
Hopefully soon you can say you've got your jab.
Yeah, and go you. I'm thrilled that you've done that. That's great. Are you feeling good?
I am actually. I was expecting to be, my partner was a little cranky, I'm not going to lie, the day after his jab. And we're going to blame the COVID jab for that. But no, I'm fine. My arm's been, I went to gym this morning, and I haven't had any kind of, not even any sore arm. I'm a little bit heavy arm, but not sore like other people have had. So I feel very lucky.
Right. That is good. Very good. So I'm going to click on to record.
Awesome.
Sorry, not record, about where we're
Hello,
going.
Everyone who's joining us today too, by the way, as we go live.
Yes, welcome. It's doing a funny little, there we go. It is working now. Yay, that's great. So welcome to another episode of Bite-Sized Conversations with Jenny and Kylie, talking today about Pinterest and where we might be missing some opportunities to use it well for our business. Tell me, Jenny, have you taken on the challenge over the past week to have a little look at Pinterest?
I had a look at it, and in actual fact, I have with a client, and we've been sharing ideas for their website. I'm helping to build look at some of the content and review their website at the moment to build their product offerings. And we've actually been using Pinterest to share ideas for what images might look like. And it's actually been really cool because she's done a board for me. And so I can share pictures on the board, and she's got pictures for me, and we can actually have a visual conversation about things that, excite her or inspire her. So I can start to see how Pinterest is really valuable for having those conversations.
Absolutely. And I love that it's so collaborative, that, you've created this private board, and then she can add whatever and you can add whatever, but also that it's so easy, just have that app on your phone.
I know.
You can snap something while you're out and upload it, or you can do a bit of research on there, etc. So yeah, so wonderful. So I think that's great that you've taken on that challenge.
Well, I'm not going to lie. It was a little bit kind of like, oh, I've said I'm going to do it, so I better start.
That's great.
Not going to lie. But having said that, I can 100% see. But what I also did is, as you do, you go down the rabbit hole when you're first finding something new, is I did have a look at things like the resources. So, I like providing like little resources and tips, particularly for my workshops. And so I had a look to say, customer avatar, guides, or a sales plan guide or anything like that. And it's amazing what you can find. I didn't realize people were actually promoting their resource guides or their PDF downloads or even tips and tip sheets via Pinterest. It never occurred to me. So it's actually opened a whole new world of places that you can share your information.
Absolutely. So I'd love to talk about it from a resource perspective first. So
Awesome.
where you can be learning from it, etc. So I'll give you an example. Yesterday afternoon, I was teaching a Canva workshop. And so I said, so first of all, we're setting up our brand kits in Canva, because you shouldn't do anything until you've set up your brand kit. So you know that you're on point and all of that. So with your brand vibe. So and we go into Pinterest and we're looking at font pairings for starting. So what fonts work well together? So, a main body font, a subheading font, a heading font, working out things. And so even just typing into the search bar on Pinterest, font pairings or font marriages, for example, some amazing stuff was coming up. So then
I never thought about that. How amazing is that?
Yeah. So then you can be saving it into a private board just called, my branding vibe or whatever you want to call it. Next thing is you can go in, as we did yesterday, and go for color palette ideas. So one person said that she lived in Brisbane and she said, I really like Lennox head. So the colors of Lennox is what my branding is. Yeah. And so anyway, I said, okay, great. So jump onto Pinterest, take a little look, search under beach color palettes, and you'll be amazed what will come up. Then once you've got those, sometimes you'll be able to get the hex codes. If not, just jump into a color palette generator, upload one of those photos, and boom, you've got the colors and you can put them straight into your brand kit in Canva. So that's a really cool thing.
I did not know that. So that's even cooler.
Then you can start going and looking for, so my main colors in my business are turquoise and charcoal and sort of an off-white. And the feel that I really like is a bit of a vintagey feel or a bit of a quirky feel.
Yes.
So I type into the search bar quirky teal, and you'll be amazed what will come up.
Quirky teal. I would never even imagine that.
There's some really funky images. Now, I'm not necessarily going to use them because that would be stealing, but it's giving me ideas. And then I'm, of course, putting them all into my branding board. So it's given me a real feel. Then as I start looking up vintage, and I'm finding really funky old typewriters and things, and I really like to do that whole old with the new. So the latest iPhone with the first original Mac, for example, and that whole journey of where have we come, which is very much like all of us in business. Yeah. And so just doing searches for those is so amazing. Now, the problem that a lot of people do, though, is they use those images on their Instagram accounts. And then at the bottom, they'll give a credit and say via Pinterest, which is just so wrong. It's definitely stealing. So making sure that you find out where those images have actually come from, who is the original source. That can be a bit of a long process because you need to click through, find their website, then find their Instagram so you can tag them. So I think better off just to find an image that's similar, that's a free image through Unsplash or something. Yeah. But that's my next top tip, is in terms of how you would use it for yourself. So if you go onto your own website and you spend a little bit of time today or this week pinning every single image that you've got on your website directly into Pinterest, then when somebody searches for that, and obviously you need to do some keywords in your descriptions and things on Pinterest. Yeah. But if somebody clicks on one of those images, I'm pointing with my new lip gloss, actually.
I have my pen too. I do the same thing.
As somebody clicks on one of those images, this is what's the most incredible thing about Pinterest, I believe, is that it's a direct link directly to your website. So it's completely different than Instagram, than Facebook, etc. Yeah. You click the image and boom, you're ready to either buy that product or book that service or read the blog. There's nothing in between. There's no, look in my bio or any of that kind of stuff.
So much easier.
You're on it. It's incredible. So the mistake that so many people make is that they set up Pinterest, they go to Pinterest, they make all these great boards, they upload all their graphics, but they don't link it anywhere. So then when people click on it, it goes nowhere and they can find out nothing more about what's behind it or what you want them to do.
That's very, very cool. I know, and Eve has just shared with us, I think, through the Facebook page that make sure when you add your resources to your website, you add alt text because that's the description that comes up when they save the Pinterest in their Pinterest board. Very cool. So you'd obviously want to brand in that too to say that it's Hello Media, vintage images or Elephant in the Room vintage images or whatever it is so that we can actually connect the brand. Very cool tip, Eve. Thank you for sharing that. And
absolutely.
What I'm loving about Pinterest particularly, and I've noticed this more recently, is that idea of that upselling and that opportunity to create a new lead magnet, essentially, or lead funnel for your products and services, particularly those low-cost items like a membership like you have and we're looking at doing, and like your resource documents or any of the free resources that you might offer, because you are getting engagement directly into the website. So that is so cool. And I noticed that once or twice when I was having a play, but I didn't realize that was actually, it didn't occur to me till you talked about it then. What a great way to build your funnels and the opportunities to share your products with the world and outside your scope. Like these are people just searching, random images. So all they need to do is, be connected with an image or have an affiliation with what you're doing and they'll find you.
Absolutely. And I just think the most important thing is that so many people say to me, it's just another social media channel and I just don't have the time. But if you can remove the idea of it being a social media channel and think of it as a search engine, the way that I think of YouTube or Google, when you're actually searching for something, that's where you go for them. So you jump onto Pinterest, you search for inspirational quotes about mindfulness or something, and then up it comes, and then you see one that you really like, you click on it, and boom, you're on your website because it's a blog that you've written about, and that's amazing chosen to go with it. So when how we talk, Jenny, about how I work my content strategy, which is write the blog first, create the graphics that go with it for socials, etc., and then do snippets of it in your social posts. So that's the same thing with Pinterest. So when you've written that first initial blog, also make a graphic that works for Pinterest too. And it's so easy with Canva. You just do a resize for the Pinterest size and off you go.
So here's a question for you. When we're looking at Pinterest and that connection piece, do you have to, if you're building a blog, for example, on Facebook, do you have on our website, do you have a plugin that allows us to tag it straight into Pinterest from your website? I mean, on Shopify or WordPress, because I haven't done that before.
I'm pretty sure on WordPress it would be a little plugin or something, but on Shopify, it's just a button that you click that all Shopify websites offer.
Amazing.
Pinnable. So every single image is there. So yes, I can pin it directly from Pinterest to my own website. But then if you're on my website, you like that, you can pin it to your Pinterest.
Oh, so clever. So it's such an easy way, again, because that board becomes a reminder or a vision board for you in the future. So it may be not something that you want now, particularly with some of the programs that we offer. Like you have a gold level program. I have my 6-month business owners mastermind. That might not be something that somebody wants right now, but if they've pinned it to the board, every time they go there, it's reminded that it's there. They're reminded of the offer. They're reminded of the product so that they can actually then, okay, maybe it's time. Maybe I'm ready for that now. So what a great way to search and connect and collect things like that.
Absolutely. And if you think about it in terms of not so much of the selling of your own things, but what people would be collecting that they're interested in. So let's think about a hobby, for example. So if I was wanting to, or let's think about your gym. So you'll be having a private board a secret board that no one else can see. And in there, you could put in outfits, gym outfits that you might be finding on Pinterest. You would be putting on different weights that you might want to buy for doing it at home, mats, etc. You might be putting in inspirational quotes for the mornings where you're feeling, and to keep you going. You might be there's so many different things you could put in there. It could be hairstyles for the gym. It could be what to do if you need to wear glasses and you're working out. They fog up, masks. I mean, there's just so many things you can put in it. And that's your personal interest. That is, you're collecting in there. But for all of those people of those pins you're pinning, that's all their businesses. So think about how are people going to collect the things that you're pinning. So be quite strategic. It's not necessarily what you would post on Facebook. No. So for example, one of my blogs is top 10 reasons why, to create a great email subject line. Or top 10 ways to create a great subject line. So then the blog would be about that. All the little social snippets would be about that. But the Pinterest pin would look different. So that would be, and it might just be a word under each 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Or it could just be the topic. Top 10 ways to blah, blah, blah. And then boom, they click through. So you've definitely got to be a bit more strategic with it than you would be with the other socials because you're not having giant captions, etc., to get people reading. So now, if we think about your business and how people would be pinning. So if I was doing a little bit of research, so for example, how to scale my business or how to get more structure in my business, if I was searching in that, firstly, your pins would need to have those kind of keywords in your captions and in your descriptions. Then the graphics would have to grab me. So I think go on Pinterest and just have a little look, do some searching of what people would be searching for you, for your own stuff, and look what comes up, because you'll find a lot of the time the graphics that are very simple but stunning photos will get a lot more attention from your eyeballs than the ones that are just super, super chaotic and wordy and giving me too much information in the one pin, because you've got a lot of stuff that you're competing with on that when you're doing a search like that.
And I did notice that when I was looking through Pinterest, is that some of the images that they had, it was obviously either resized or they'd been repurposed from another platform, because they either weren't clear in the view. It was not easy to see what they were, but the ones that had either done a flat lay or it's something that was particularly, eye-catching, that looked beautiful but also engaging, that showed me what I was looking at, but maybe not even the direct product or the direct service. It drew me in by the way that it was structured. So I think that's so important to be mindful of what the audience is looking at. And there is so much. It is kind of looking at a Google image search and having, flooded with lots of images, and it's the ones that stand out with the right colors and the layout that really do engage you and make you want to click on them.
Yeah, absolutely. So Karen has just asked a question about all her photos are in landscape format. So because Pinterest is geared for more vertical, what would you do? So I would just use a snippet of that image. So as you put it into that vertical format, just make sure that you've just got a portion of it, and then have some words over it, like want to see more, or to view the whole view, click through and see it in all its glory or whatever. Because, but I still think you can put some landscape things up there. Like when I'm pinning everything from my website, I'm certainly not resizing any of that. And because I'm using it, so much of it just for research, like I would say, I don't know offhand, but I've probably got 100 boards, and probably 85 of those would be secret boards that no one can see, because what I'm using it for is for research, and for, just like you said before with your client, I'm using it for planning with my client. So a client and I have a secret board, or when we're doing a branding masterclass, then we'll have one for the whole class, for example, and we're all pinning into that. But I've got clients from 5 years ago that are still pinning into that board that they have as a secret with me. They'll still send me a little message and say, what do you think of this one, Kylie, for example? 5 years after us working together.
That's so cool.
It's definitely an amazing resource. Plus, sometimes I feel like my socials can be going a bit off track in terms of my branding. And I sit back, take stock, and I think, okay, am I ready to evolve my brand? Am I going in a different direction? Or do I need to come back to what it really is all about for me? So I'll go and have a look at my Pinterest board. I'll scroll right back to the beginning, and I mean my secret Hello Media branding Pinterest board, and I'll see how I've evolved. And I'll go, do I want to keep evolving in that way, or do I want to bring it back? And I find that an amazing thing to watch. Like I can look at over a 5-year journey, for example, which, feels quite fun.
And I like that also, because that sort of stops that shiny things piece, doesn't it? Because so often we don't realize what the incremental changes we're making. And there's, from a business coaching perspective, incremental change is the best way to make significant wholesale change over time, because you don't notice those small incremental changes. But from a branding perspective, it can be really challenging, because if you're constantly saying, oh, it's okay if we use this color today, or we'll just use this font, or we'll just use that, very soon your brand, the brand that you're expecting to put out in public, is no longer that brand, because you keep making, tiny little changes. There's not the wholesale changes that we're looking for, it's those little incremental. So I love that idea of being able to see your journey and checking in to say, am I still consistent? Is this still working for me? Or do I need to remind myself where I'm coming from?
Absolutely. And Karen's just asked, maybe I can capture the best part of my image, like, for example, the Opera House. And I just thought, what about you actually do a strategy that's really fun, where you just have a sneaky part of one of those famous Sydney landscapes, and you say, what is this? ? So you get people clicking through, you're intriguing them to want to know more, like, could it be the Opera House, or could it be a sail from a boat or something? And so it's intriguing, it's exciting. And then, it's a much easier way to get people going through your website is by intrigue. Yeah. And then
and also these days there is that intention of having that kind of slightly quirky, and I love that. It never occurred to me to look up quirky teal or use that kind of descriptive language. I love that, but it's actually a really good way of getting engagement, isn't it? Because when I had a look at Pinterest, there are some images that are just kind of, you know, ho-hum images. They're not engaging, and it really has been seen as just, I'm throwing everything up there and not really thinking strategically about how people might be finding them. But if you are looking at that clear strategy about what do I want to do here, and we're talking about that next week when we talk about intention, but when we're talking about what we're trying to achieve in the Pinterest board, it allows us to say, okay, well, what is the best way for me to show up? How am I going to do that? And how can I attract people and to attract people to choose my pin? Because that's really what you're doing, isn't it? You're kind of throwing it out and saying, pick me, pick me.
Absolutely. And I want them to click on my pin. So what I'm thinking is, I think it's so important and look, I'm not saying it's wrong, because clearly it is a social media platform, but I don't think of it like that. I'm not seeking followers on my Pinterest account. But I don't even know how many followers. There's probably under 10 followers that Hello Media's got. But my repins every month and my traffic to my site from Pinterest is extraordinary. It's huge.
Wow.
And to have literally less than 10 followers, or I honestly don't know how many it is, but it'll be nothing, maybe a handful. It's when you look at that compared to the traffic I'm getting. So where else do you get that on social media? Yeah. When the number of followers you've got is it's not the most important thing, because obviously the quality of your followers is the most important thing, but on Pinterest it's not even at all. So it's just about being found when people are searching. So I'd love to give this little example of how I used it 8 years ago now, when my daughter was having her 10th birthday, and we did a Harry Potter party for her, and I know nothing about Harry Potter and have no interest in Harry Potter. And so I was like, and I'm really into birthday parties. So I was like, I've got to make this the most epic thing. But where do I start without having to watch the whole lot of those movies, which those hours I would never get back?
No.
So I just started a Pinterest board, and I just did this most incredible party where all the kids arrived and they sat under the sorting hat, and they got put into their houses, and the food, they got given money when they arrived that I'd made, and they had to pay for their meals and pay for their butterbeer. And, it was just the most amazing, epic thing. All my friends came and had different classrooms. So there was the spells classroom, and there was, all kinds of things. And the kids just had a ball and made so many things. And it was so interactive and fun. And so many of the parents said to me, oh my God, you must be a massive Harry Potter fan. And I'm like, No, I've watched half of one of them. I just went hard out on Pinterest. And then she had a superhero party one year. I did the same thing, just Pinterested myself out, because I've got no interest in the Marvel movies. And Pinterest for my whole research for everything. So just a wonderful way of collecting information, gathering. And then, so my challenge to everybody listening would be to not think about it for your business today, but jump on there, think about something that you want to research. So, for example, a renovation of your laundry, a setup of how can I rearrange my lounge room? How can I, exercise outdoors when it's lockdown times? Like anything you want to, and make a secret board and start researching and start pinning into that board, or saving pins in that board. And you'll be amazed at what you can find. And definitely worth it. So instead of thinking of it as a social network, think of it as a search engine for images. And I think that I love that idea. You'll have a ball.
I think the idea about putting it in that as a search engine for images is a really great way to engage. And also for people who and I wrote a post this week about, are we creative? How do we find ourselves are creative or structured, and do we define ourselves as different things? And what Pinterest allows you to do, and that's what I find recently, is because you're getting inspiration from things, it actually starts working your creative bone. It actually in your creative muscle in your body, and saying you start to get inspired by things, and you start to see things differently when you're looking at images all day, or not all day, but for a period of time, and you get an opportunity to do that. It actually starts building this creative muscle in your body, because you start to recognize the things that you like and the things that you don't like, and you can start to see how things go together and to pull information together in a different way. So I actually really enjoyed it from a kind of more kind of geeky way, about the fact that I was seeing things differently by looking at it from an image perspective, rather than looking at content and words and kind of purpose.
Absolutely. And I find it so much more enjoyable if I just want a mindless scroll than Instagram or Facebook, for example, because I'm not just mindlessly scrolling, I'm typing in something that I'm interested in. So it might be, kitchen organization. And then up comes all the stuff. I can pin it and it's inspired me. I've got some stuff going on in my brain and going, I'm going to try that. So yeah,
I love that. Karen said, could I tease my audiences by saying something like, where could you be sailing? Which is definitely, I think, 100%. But I like this one that you said, Karen, about creating something like how to make Sydney your space. So you're choosing your interiors and photos and homes and bedrooms and offices to kind of create that. I think they're great ideas in terms of inspiring people, because they're the things people are typing in, aren't they? Like, how do I create the perfect Hamptons house, or if it's that kind of, Miami kind of vibe. They're the types of words that I imagine people are looking for on Pinterest when they're trying to imagine, create a mood board or a vision board. They have a vision in their mind of what they're looking to search for. So I think that's a great way of doing it.
Actually, we haven't even used those words yet, Jenny, but you're dead right. The vision board or the mood board. That's exactly what it is that we're creating.
Yeah.
So back in the day, I went to some amazing networking meeting years and years and years ago, and the speaker came and brought all these old magazines, and we chopped it all up, all the pieces, and we put them on these beautiful boards. And, I've done them many times over my time, but never in that kind of environment. It was really amazing. It's exactly the same on Pinterest. So you're just putting in all these different kinds of things and you're putting them in there. So you could even, as a challenge today, you could do one called My Life, and then put it all in there of exactly what you want your life to look like right now. And then it's giving you something to work towards.
And in fact, a colleague of ours, one of our colleagues have actually done that. She actually created, she didn't do it in Pinterest, but I might actually suggest she does that because she's been moving a lot, is that by doing that and creating it and having little tags as a private piece in terms of when your milestones is or when you want to achieve it, or recognizing kind of what they mean to you and creating that connection with each of them. I think it's a great way, because then it travels with you, isn't it? That's the challenge of a vision board. When it's up on the wall and there's lots of cutouts and glue and paper, it's sort of stuck literally in one place. Whereas if you've got it on your phone, you can always be inspired by what your vision board's going to be and what you want to achieve and what your life is going to look like. I love that tip. It's awesome.
And take a screenshot and then make it be your wallpaper on your phone.
Perfect. Look at that.
Forever looking at it.
And so that's really what we're doing. It's essentially, so I love that kind of idea of being able to create or carry inspiration with you wherever you go. And you can use that and connecting with clients and being able to talk to clients and getting to share ideas or tips, particularly in the world that you're doing in terms of social media. Or if you're asking for people, who inspires you, what do you want to look like, how do you want to show up online? It gives you a really clear picture, because I suck at describing things. Like, I love words, but sometimes describing things, like even when I was getting my hair done, they're like, what colors do you like? I'm like, all of them. Like, what do you want it to look like? I'm like, I don't know. And they're like, can we look at some pictures? I'm like, yeah, let's do that. So that's literally what we did. We went to Pinterest and we looked at pictures with the hairdresser for like 10 minutes to try and find pictures that we wanted. That I kind of like, I like this.
And she's like, the hairdresser. Yeah, this is my Pinterest board for my dream hair.
That's what I need to do. And I think I did that years ago in terms of short hair, when I got my hair cut off completely, like, many, many years ago, but I just completely forgot about it. But that's really what we're doing, isn't it? It's a way to find words and create a connection when you don't know what the right description is or the right word is.
Yeah. And what's a really important thing too, just like I talk about repurposing your old content, repurposing your old blogs, et cetera, do the same with your old Pinterest stuff. So pull it up, edit the caption, give it a bit of a zhuzh, new life, and then off it goes out into the world again. So very, very easy to repurpose your old pins.
And also because there is such a volume of pins that are going out every day, doing that is not going to flood it with the same image multiple times in a way that's going to people saying, oh, well, that is just repurposed content, because there are so many options and there's so many different ways to search for the same thing.
Absolutely. That is absolutely right.
Love that idea. That is such a big tip. So yes, I had a little play with Pinterest. I took up the challenge, but I think this week there's going to be a little bit more deep dive and definitely about how we connect it with the business. So I'd love for people who are listening or watching on Facebook today and watching us live to maybe do that too, and look at how you can share your business through Pinterest, how that's going to support you, and let us know in the chat. Let us come back to us and let us know how that's gone. Share your board if you want to make it public and show us who you are, because I think it's a really great way. Again, it's another, so it's not just a social media platform, but let's share and connect and find what people are doing, because that might give us inspiration as well.
Absolutely. And take on the challenge of doing a life board this week.
Yes.
I think that would be really fun, and see what
And
you
that
come
will
up.
set us up for our conversation next week too, if we're looking to do a life board in terms of what we want our life to look like.
Absolutely, Jenny. So let's talk about next week's topic. I'm really excited about that.
I really wanted to talk about intention. And a lot of my conversations this week with my clients have actually come back to this discussion around what are we intending to do? What is our intention when we act in certain ways in our business and show up in life? And so I really wanted to spend some time talking about the importance of intention and setting your intention, and not in the woo-woo way. We'll probably talk a little bit in the woo-woo way, but also in the kind of more business structure way, and the importance of having a really clear intention about how you want to approach your business and how that impacts how you show up.
Oh, I love that. I can't wait for that. That's exciting. So, Jenny, I know we always finish off talking about how can people find you, but I think it's important that we do a recap on what do we do. So tell everybody, Jenny, what do you do and how do you help people?
So I'm a business coach and consultant. My company is Elephant in the Room Consulting. You can find us on Facebook and LinkedIn and Instagram at Elephant in the Room AU. Best places to find me, or you can email us. We'll put the details in the chat. And I work with people to help untangle the mess of business. We look at providing clarity, structure, and process through high-touch coaching programs. That's who I am. And what about you, Kylie? Tell us about you and how people can find you.
Well, I'm a business coach specializing in digital marketing and branding and content. So it's basically all the ways that you get visible online is how I help you to find the way to put your message out there. So in a nutshell, I build brands and I love everything about it, and sharing and helping you find your voice, not necessarily what everybody else is telling you that you must do. That doesn't sit well with you. And the way you can find me is hellomedia.team. You can join our coaching programs. We've got 3 different levels of that. And we also have a free series that goes out there that people can join, and we're just moving the date of that. We just found a new date last night, so it'll be Fridays, Friday mornings-ish, a little bit after what we do here. So that will be very exciting, and I look forward to that. We'll be, letting you know about our continuation, or we're doing it in a new way. And Jenny, I love it when something's working really well and I'm loving it, to go, how could we do this different, or how could we do this better? And so we stopped for a month, regrouped, and now we're about to relaunch. So
my favorite questions.
Yeah.
Every question I asked was 2 ways: either how do we do it better, or how are we making this too hard for ourselves? How do we make this more difficult? But I know Melon's going to put all their contact details in the chat, and I'm very excited to see and hear about people's vision boards or life boards next week. Please take up the challenge. I think it's a really great one. And if it does nothing else, it's going to help you focus and think about where are you at today and how does that look for you? Is this where you want to be, or is there something else that you want to do? And so that will lead into our awesome conversation next week on intention, the same time, same bat channel at 9:15 on Facebook, LinkedIn, Facebook, Zoom, and other streaming services that we're on. We're across everywhere now, aren't we?
And then a podcast.
And then the podcast, if you miss it. Exactly. We're everywhere.
Awesome. All right. Well, I look forward to seeing you Friday, Jenny. Thanks so much. And your hair looks glorious.
Thank you very much.
And have a fabulous weekend. And thanks for
joining. Have an awesome weekend. Take care, everyone. Thanks for joining us. Bye.
Thank you.